Hello, Latin 2 students. Happy Thursday. We're going to start today with some bell work reviewing personal pronouns, so your first, second, and third person personal pronouns. So if you would practice writing those out, the first person starts with ego, the second person starts with to, and then the third person is the is, id. So go ahead and pause this video and write those out for me. All right, so let's take a look. Hopefully, what you got here. First person is going to be ego, mei, mihi, me, me. Second person, nos, nostrum, nobis, nos, nobis. Or excuse me, that's the plural. Second person is going to be tu, tui, tibi, te, te. And then the plural, wos, westrum, wobis, wos, wobis. All right. So those are your first and second personal pronouns. The first person is going to be I or me. Then the plural would be we or us. Second person is going to be you. All right. And notice those datives, mihi, nobis, tibi, and wobis. Okay. Again, since we don't have new forms this chapter, I just wanted to review nouns and pronouns, just to help you freshen up a bit on being able to recognize cases and all that. Okay, and then your third person is going to be a little bit longer chart, but the words are all pretty short. So you've got is, ea, id, eus, 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 a, eum, eam, id, eo, ea, eo, and then the plural, ei, ai, ea, eorm, earm, eorm, eis, 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 eos, eas, ea, eis, eis, eis. Okay, so that's your third person. That's going to be the he, she, it, and then the plural is they. This one can also function as a demonstrative, so sometimes it can be like a this or that. It's usually a little bit of a weaker demonstrative than those hic, hike, hoke, and alay, la, lud that we looked at the other day. Okay, so those are your personal pronouns. All right. Wanted to review a couple other things with you too before we move down to translation. Dative uses. Okay, this is kind of the main focus of this chapter. I've got some sample sentences here for us to look at. First of all, looking at an indirect object. So indirect object, this is your oldest dative usage. And this is going to be the person who is person or thing that's kind of secondarily affected by the action. So on number one here, Civitas, the state, gave pecuniam, gave money, nobis, to us. Okay, so we are going to be the indirect object there because we're the state isn't giving us, but they're giving something to us, so we're being affected by that. All right. Next is your dative of agent. This one is a relatively rare use. You're usually just going to see it with the passive periphrastic. All right. So this sentence would be the danger must be overcome by the boy. All right. So you don't need a preposition. Actually, datives will never have a preposition. You can also translate this as the boy must overcome the danger. Okay, so Wheelock does tell you you are allowed to make it active. So if you'd like to do that, you are certainly allowed to. Okay, then the three new uses this chapter. The first one is with special adjectives. Certain adjectives will have a dative lingering near them. We've encountered several of them already, but Wheelock finally gives you a name for them. So this sentence for three would say, Weedy, I saw a girl similar to a goddess. Okay? And you'll notice here, similar to a goddess, you can still translate with the two or four definition for a dative. With these adjectives, we had you've seen karus, meaning deer. You've also seen par, which means equal to. Those ones are also some common ones. You've had amicus, friendly. That one often will have a dative with it too, friendly to so and so. Okay. Then dative with special verbs. You have a handful of verbs this chapter. that will take a dative object rather than your traditional accusative. Okay, so I gave you one of them in sentence 4 here, noket, which means to harm. Okay, or to be injurious to, which is a little bit of a mouthful. So let's go with harm. Translation here. So he who harms his friend harms himself. Okay, so Amiko, Suo, and Sibi are both datives, and that's because noket is going to take a dative object. Okay, and then the last one here, dative with compound verbs. Very often verbs that have a base and then they have a preposition attached to them will frequently take a dative. And the prepositions that usually work this way, odd, ante, con, in, inter, ob, post, pri, pro, sub, super, and sometimes curcum. Okay, once again, that list is in your book, of course. So the one I've give you here is odd esse, which is compound odd sum. Okay, and odd sum can mean to be present, but it can also mean to support. Okay, and the translation here would be we ought to support the poor. Okay, so that's why pauperibus is in the dative. Okay, so hopefully that helps you see a little bit more on the dative with these special uses here, these 5 dative uses. Okay, next I want to talk to you about your vocab quiz, which is going to be on Monday, and it's going to be set up just like a typical vocab quiz, except it's going to be, online. So what it's going to look like, you will see I will give you a word. So, for example, Yanuwa, one of your new words, and then I will say 3 blanks. Okay, so on a traditional vocab quiz, you would have 3 blanks after Yanuwa. And what you would put then, when you fill out the quiz, is you would put Yanuai, feminine, and door. Okay, so that's what you would do on the quiz. Another example, a verb here, impero, one of your new verbs, and then I would say 4 blanks. So what you would put then, imperare, imperavi, imperatum, to command. Okay, so that's what you're going to be doing for the vocab quiz. Again, the content is exactly the same as all your other vocab quizzes. It's just going to be online. Okay, and I am going to ask you, please do not use your book while taking this. Again, I don't have any way of enforcing that, but it just kind of defeats the point of learning vocab if all you're doing is just copying it. Okay, so it is important to make sure you have these words memorized. It will make your life easier. Okay, so please be on the honor system here, and please take the quiz after studying thoroughly, but don't have your book or notes open while you're taking the quiz, please. All right, let's move on to translation. All right, so with our translation yesterday, we covered up through line 6, middle of line 6, where you had the deceitful games of love. So for today, I'd like for us to go pick up there and then go down to line 13 with the word surduanes. Okay, so if you could pause the video and translate those lines. All right, and let's see what she got so far. So just a recap here, we've got these two neighbors, Menedemus and Cremes. Menedemus has kind of driven his son away, and now he is kind of overcome with grief, and he's punishing himself by basically being a workaholic and trying to atone, I guess you could say, for his the way he treated his son. All right. So picking up on line 6, all right, with the word ego, I, comma, when I was at that age of yours, I found rewards and glory in the army. Okay? So I, when I was at that age of yours, found rewards and glory in the army. Okay, so he's talking to, he's recounting what he told his son. All right. A couple things in here: rewards and glory. Those are your direct objects, so both of those are in the accusative. Okay, and then you've got your verb eram, which is part of a cum clause. It'll be in the imperfect indicative. All right, and then your main verb of the sentence in weni is going to be perfect from that third principal part. Okay, and then the next sentence, now Clinia, which is the name of Menedemus' son. Now Clinia has left, or has departed, with the soldiers into Asia. Okay, and Asia, once again, usually refers to Asia Minor. All right, so now Clinia has departed with with the soldiers into Asia, so that he may serve the king and please me. Okay, so my son left in order to, fulfill his duty to his king, and also to please his dad. Okay, and notice here, regi and mihi, both of these are going to be in the dative case, and that is because those two verbs, serviat and placeat, are special verbs that take a dative object. Okay, a couple other things in the sentence: militibus, going to be an ablative of accompaniment because he's going with the soldiers. Also, your verbs seriat and placeat, they are special verbs. They are also in the subjunctive. All right. So when you find yourself with a subjunctive, you have to ask yourself, why are these in the subjunctive? In this case, they would be verbs of a purpose clause. Okay, telling you why Clinia left. All right, next line. Cremes, who's the neighbor, says, "What are you saying?" Or "What do you say?" All right, and then Menedemus answers, "Would that I had not persuaded him." Or you could say, "If only I had not persuaded him." All right. And then next sentence, "I have most seriously harmed my son, whom I should have, or whom I ought to help." Okay? So I have most seriously harmed my son, whom I ought to help. Okay? So a couple things in there. No kui, again, a special verb. We saw one of those on the example sentences that I gave you. Is a special verb. That's why filio is in the dative case. Okay? And then you have a complementary infinitive with that aduare. Okay? Debebam is the debeo. Very often will have that that complementary infinitive. Okay? So that's where that whom I ought to help or whom I should have helped. Okay? And then grauissimi, you notice the issimi tells you it's superlative, and this is an adverb. All right, so it's a superlative adverb. Okay. Next sentence. Now, or excuse me, there's no now. I made that up. Ignore that. I am not able to forgive myself or to pardon myself. Okay, so ignoskra, once again, is going to be one of those special verbs that takes a dative. That's why mihi's in the dative. Ignoskra is also a complementary infinitive. All right, notice going with possum. Okay, and then the last sentence for today, itaque, and so, while Clinia suffers or endures many evils because of me, I myself will also pay the penalty, working in the field, sparing riches, or excuse me, I apologize, sparing wealth, probably be better, or resources, serving that absent man, or that absent one, or that man being absent. A couple ways you can take it. Okay? So, a couple things. Let's take a look in that last sentence. There's some nice little little tidbits. Okay? So, potator, that first verb you come to, is a lovely deponent verb. So deponent verbs, remember from last chapter, will be passive in form, but you translate them actively. So that's why we're saying Clinia suffers or endures. Okay? Then you've got that idiom, I will pay the penalty, poinos dabo. All right? And then you have three present active participles, laborans, parcanes, and serweanes. Okay? Participles, present active participles, remember, will have the ns, ntis going on. Okay? So, working in the field, ablative of place where, sparing resources. Okay? The resources, the opibus, is the dative with a special verb. Man, there are lots of special verbs going on in this chapter. It's quite exciting, actually. And then last one, serving that man being absent, referring to his son. That man being absent is also a dative with a special verb. Oh, buddy. All right, so that is as far as we're going to be translating for today. Okay, so make sure you're reviewing that and comfortable with this translation so far. Please remember that for tomorrow, you need to have books 1 and 2 read for the Aeneid, if you have not done so already. And also, please make sure that you have completed those reading checks on LMS. There's a reading check for book 1 and book 2. And then make sure you comment on the wall for the discussion board for book 1 and book 2. Okay, so the reading checks will be, you can probably do both of those in, I would imagine, less than 3 minutes. And then the making your comments on the discussion post, you can probably do that in less than 5 minutes or so. So please make sure you do that. Have those done by tomorrow, and we will be discussing the Aeneid in tomorrow's video. So hope you guys have a fabulous day. Love you all, and talk to you later.